The Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments of the Constitution.
Wow, I love my constitutional rights.
What are your constitutional rights?
Speech so I can say anything I want.
Nice.
You know, the Bill of Rights played a huge role in getting people freedom in America.
Nice.
Throughout history, freedom has been a huge motivational factor for Americans. The ability to gain freedom gives people hope and provides a goal to work towards. The American Revolution was when America gained independence and freedom from Great Britain. The Constitution was written after declaring independence in order to set a framework for a new country.
Yeah, but the Bill of Rights doesn't protect us from idiots.
Dude, that's awesome.
During the time period of the American Revolution, colonial literature was the style of writing used. Many different authors adopted this style. Colonial literature was written mainly by colonists during the time and reflected personal beliefs. A large emphasis was placed on self-reflection. This was important because freedom is the communication of one's ideas to others.
By the way, did you know that Phyllis Wheatley wrote in the colonial time period?
Wow.
Phyllis Wheatley was a famous poet from colonial times. She was black. She talked about her life in slavery, which followed the principles of colonial literature. She often talked about and reflected upon her freedom from slavery in her poems.
Dude, that is quite possibly the coolest thing I've ever heard.
I know.
Prohibition was enforced to reduce the amount of drinking in America. It ultimately led to more rebellion. Bootlegging was popular during Prohibition. Bootlegging was the illegal production and selling of alcohol.
You know Bojangles doesn't sell alcohol? Prohibition was a time period where drinking alcohol was illegal.
Oh, word. When did Prohibition end if we can drink alcohol today?
It ended with the 21st Amendment, which repealed the 18th Amendment.
Prohibition was the time period when alcohol was made illegal. Prohibition started in 1920 with the 18th Amendment. Many people protested Prohibition because they believed that it took their freedom away. After 13 years, Prohibition was finally repealed with the 21st Amendment.
Bojangles doesn't sell alcohol?
Bojangles doesn't sell alcohol.
LMAO, did you realize that The Great Gatsby took place during Prohibition?
The Great Gatsby was written during the Modernism time period. The book takes place during Prohibition. Prohibition plays an important role in the book, as Gatsby made his fortune off of illegally produced alcohol. Gatsby's bootlegging shows the desire for freedom that Prohibition created.
That's so cool. But did you know that The Devil and Tom Walker was written in the Romantic time period?
Romanticism was a writing style in the 19th century that emphasized independence, nature, and love. The large role that nature plays in The Devil and Tom Walker classifies it as romanticism. Tom's wife in the story loved herself and was independent, as well as Tom, who had similar characteristics.
Go. Let me tell you about the Transcendentalist story, Life in the Woods.
Okay.
Transcendentalism was a style of writing that became popular in the late 1920s. Transcendentalism put a large emphasis on nature and self-reliance in people. Life in the Woods describes Henry David Thoreau's escape from reality in the woods near Walden Pond. Thoreau spent approximately 2 years in the woods and kept good documentation about his experiences. Thoreau thought he could understand more about society by alienating himself from it. Self-reliance and freedom from society motivated Thoreau to spend 2 years living in the woods by himself.
But Huck Finn is realism.
Cool.
Huckleberry Finn is a great example of the realism literary genre. Realism is a genre focused around realistic descriptions of characters and settings. In realism, the characters are given lifelike attributes and faced with situations that are likely to happen in the real world. Huckleberry Finn is realism because Huck is not given superhuman powers and is described to be just a normal kid. Jim was clearly triggered by the idea of gaining freedom. Starting after he escapes as a runaway slave, Jim's objective becomes gaining freedom from Miss Watson. This drive for Jim to obtain freedom is a good example of the motivation that freedom can provide.
Hey, I'm just feeling my vibe right now, I'm feeling myself. Panda. Panda.